Yo, what is going on, you guys? It's your boy King Sanders here, and we are back with another day of sports betting. This is going to be for Tuesday, April 12th slate of NBA and MLB games. Yes, we are finally here at the play-in games. This is truly one of my favorite times of the year. Obviously, March Madness is at the very top of it, but I do love these play-in games. They're usually very competitive. They're very fun to watch. It's definitely something good to put some money on, too. I really enjoy it. A lot of these players do have to actually try in a lot of these games. So this is genuinely a favorite time of the year for me. So I'm really excited to dive into it. But before I did just want to go ahead and say that we are on the road to 7,000 subscribers. So if you guys are new, make sure you guys do like, comment, subscribe, and turn on that notification bell so you guys know whenever I post. Next, I did just want to go ahead and give a quick shout out here to all of our members here on the channel. Thank you guys so much for everything that you guys do, and thank you guys so much for giving such a small channel such a big chance, as I always say. Truly does mean so much to me. So let's go ahead and dive into it. We'll do a quick recap as of yesterday. We had a pretty okay day. We ended up going 1-1 on the day because the Cardinals game actually got postponed. It got postponed to I think it was mid-June or something, so it was pretty far out there. But it did get postponed due to the weather, so we'll never know if that one would hit or not. But we did have the Rockies Moneyline versus the Rangers at plus 110 odds. Now, I know there was a lot of people on the Rangers, and as soon as I sort of saw the Rockies as of last year, their record on the road, I was like, yeah, I'm kind of nervous about this because I genuinely didn't see that. But it ended up working out for us in our favor. It was an absolutely great game, went into extra innings, but the Rockies did end up pulling it out there late. CJ Cron, absolute stud, by the way. But it was an absolutely great game just in general. But the Rockies did end up pulling it out for us, getting it done. Then we had the Angels and the Marlins over 9.5 runs. It was looking pretty good. I think there was 4 or 5 runs through the first 2 innings. But then after that, it really started to slow down, and there wasn't too much after that. I think they finished with 8, so it wasn't super far off. But it was still 2 runs shy at the end of the day. So just went through a little bit of a drought through the 3rd, 4th, 5th inning, I believe. And then, they started to come back alive. But by that point, it was a little bit too late. So let's go ahead and dive into it. I do have one play from each of the play-in games that are going to be played today, and then I do have an MLB play as well. And then I'll probably be adding one more. I just don't have a line for it yet, but I'm super excited to dive into it. So our first play of the day for the play-in game, we're taking Paul George over 40.5 PRAs here versus Minnesota at minus 120 odds. Now, I'll go ahead and get all the statistical stuff out of the way, and then I will tell you why I think this is even more important from a mental and a basketball perspective. So, first things first, Minnesota, they give up the 4th most points per game to opposing small forwards, the 9th most rebounds per game to opposing small forwards, and the 3rd most assists per game to opposing small forwards, giving up a lot of stats to that power forward or that small forward position, And it's also Paul George, an absolute superstar. So I think that this is a really good matchup for him. And he is coming off of a game where he didn't really play a whole lot of minutes, and he still had 23 points, 8 rebounds, and 12 assists. So he's been a very, very good. He's been very, very good since he's returned. So I think that this is another spot for him to show up. And I think that this line is very high, but I think it's definitely for a reason. Also, in his last 4 playoff games, which I guess this is technically still a playoff game, even though it's the play-in tournament, he has had 32, 60, 45, and 50 PRAs in his last 4. So he's been insane in his last 4 playoff games. So I do think we see a little bit of value there. He has been showing up when he's needed to. And Minnesota, they are first in pace in the entire NBA. So they play at the fastest pace, going to give a guy like Paul George some more possessions. So I think he is going to be able to take advantage of it. Now, from a basketball perspective, obviously this is a playoff game, essentially, and the Clippers are going to want to win this game. I don't know if they will, but the Clippers, they are going to want to win this game. Now, Minnesota, there was a stat out there that Minnesota has scored the most points in the entire NBA just as a team. So they've scored the most points in the entire NBA. And if they look to keep doing that, somebody off this Clippers team, is going to have to score points. And so they are going to have a lot of points from Paul George. They're going to have some assists from Paul George, some playmaking things from Paul George to be able to win this game. So I think that this is just going to be another motivational spot here for Paul George. He's going to have to be doing a lot in this game if he does want to keep it close. So that's our first play of the day. Paul George over 40.5 PRAs here versus Minnesota at minus 120 odds. Now, our second play of the day for the other play-in game, we're going to be taking Evan Mobley over 1.5 blocks here versus Brooklyn at minus 125 odds. Now, I know, I'm pretty sure this is probably the first ever defensive prop that I've ever put on here on the channel, but I really do like it. In Mobley's last 2 games, he has recorded 4 and 2 blocks in his last 2 games, and the 2-block game was against this Brooklyn Nets team. Also, the Brooklyn Nets actually allow the 6th most blocks per game to opposing centers, and Brooklyn is a top 10 team in pace this year. And if you look at it from a matchup perspective, without Jared Allen on the floor, Evan Mobley is going to more than likely be matched up on Andre Drummond. Now, if you think about it, Andre Drummond, he doesn't leave the paint, or Nicholas Claxton. Neither of those guys leave the paint, so Mobley is going to be inside for a lot of them. He's going to be able to play even more help defense than he normally would, and he's going to be able to block a couple more shots than he normally would. And also, this is Evan Mobley's first playoff appearance. I do think he is going to try to make a pretty big, just like make some noise here in this first ever playoff appearance. So I really do think that Mobley is going to be able to get this done for us. I think he's going to have a big game. So we're taking Evan Mobley over 1.5 blocks here versus Brooklyn at minus 125 odds. Now, if you want my leans for this game, I do think that I'm going to be taking the Clippers +3 and the Cavs +9. The Cavs one, I just think it's going to be closer than a 9-point game. Despite both these teams being, pretty good, I just think that's a little bit too big of a spread. And Clippers, I don't know. That one's just kind of a shot in the dark. I think it's going to be really close, but I'm just going to pick the Clippers just because. But it's not an official bet, of course. So let's go ahead and get into our MLB play. I will have a lean after this that I'll more than likely add once I get a line for it. But for now, we're going to be taking the Phillies minus 1.5 here versus the Mets at plus 125 odds. Now, the Phillies, they've had a really good start to the year. They are 3-1 to start off the year so far. And the Mets, on the other side of things, they have lost 2 straight games. Now, they could be looking to turn it around this game, and I wouldn't be shocked if they did. But they are kind of the colder team as of right now. And if you look at it from a historical standpoint, the Phillies versus the Mets in their last 8 games, the Phillies are 7-1 versus the Mets in their last 8 games. So they definitely have the history on their side. And if you look at it, the Phillies pitcher, Zach Wheeler, he actually last year had a 2.78 ERA. So dude is a very good pitcher. He has shown that he's a good pitcher. So I do think that he's going to be able to hold off these Mets. So as long as the Phillies can get their bats going, I truly do think that they can get this done here for us. So that's going to be our MLB play of the day. Phillies minus 1.5 versus the Mets at plus 125 odds. Now, I do also like Yu Darvish over in strikeouts versus the Giants, but we just don't have a line for it yet. But if you go and look at Yu Darvish's game log versus the Giants, dude's been, striking people out like crazy. So I think that whenever that line does drop, I would say there's probably a 99% chance I do take it. And the over-under is at like 7.5, so super low. It's expected to have a lot of outs, so I definitely think that Yu Darvish is going to go over in strikeouts. So keep an eye on that one. Make sure to check out my Twitter and the pinned comment section, but I really do like that play, so that's going to be our third and final play of the day. Phillies minus 1.5 versus Mets at plus 125 odds. So that is going to do it for today's video. If you guys did enjoy, make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, and turn on that notification bell so you guys know whenever I post. Like I said, we're on the road to 7,000 subscribers, and I can't do that without your guys' help. So, make sure that you guys are subbed if you guys are new. But for now, this is King Center signing out. Peace.